This video is sponsored by Instant Gaming. Get cheap game time as well as other Warcraft products at affordable prices. Click the link in the description below to check it out. Hello guys, this is Doran's Movies, and today I will be talking about Sylvanas and how powerful she is. With the recent events, the Dark Lady has been quite a significant character, but how strong is she exactly? So, without further ado, let's get into the lore. Long ago, the Ranger General of Silvermoon, Sylvanas Windrunner, was of significant importance within the High Elven Society. She was a hero of the Troll Wars, earning a reputation as a fearless and a cunning ranger. However, it was during the Third War where Sylvanas would truly be tested. After the fall of the human kingdoms, the undead Prince Arthas would turn all his forces towards Quel'Thalas. As the Ranger General, Sylvanas and her rangers were the first and the last line of defense. She offered hard and stubborn resistance, but ultimately the undead forces were just far too overwhelming. Almost the entirety of the High Elven population was slain, and Sylvanas would also fall in the battle against the Scourge. Due to her adamant defiance, Arthas was annoyed, and instead of offering her a clean death, which is not something he would do anyway, he ripped out her soul and transformed Sylvanas into a banshee, becoming a first of her kind. As further punishment, Arthas retained her self-awareness even though she was essentially a slave, in order for her to witness the destruction he would bring firsthand. Ultimately, the resolve would get weaker and Sylvanas would rebel, striking the Death Knight with a poison arrow and gathering other defiant undead. Soon enough, the Forsaken were formed, independent undead that would take over Lordran from the ruins without too much effort. As undead, even though not the servants of the Lich King, they were hated by essentially everyone, so their only course of action for survival was to join the Horde. Sylvanas was always the most disloyal member, but it worked out well as it was mutually beneficial for both parties. Now, the Dark Lady would start building her power, first establishing the Plague, as well as starting many other operations to strengthen her hold over Lordran. After that was done, they would put their entire effort into their mission to destroy Arthas. Sylvanas sent a considerable expedition to Northrend in order to help. Unfortunately, she was betrayed by her own, turning their most powerful weapon, the Plague, against the Horde. Nonetheless, the forces of Azeroth succeeded, and the Lich King was brought to an end. At this point, Sylvanas completed her only mission, and seeing no point in further undeath, she threw herself off the frozen throne. At this point, she came to the realization that she was doomed to an eternity of darkness and that there would never be peace for herself and her people. Fortunately, the Valkyr, also former servants of the Lich King, created a pact with her, resurrecting Sylvanas and joining the Forsaken. From this moment forth, Windrunner would take a massive turn and would put all her efforts into shielding herself and her people from true death. Aggressive campaigns were started in Eastern Kingdoms, many war crimes realized, Gilneas fell, Plague destroyed human settlements, and overall, the preservation of the Forsaken was all that mattered. During the Burning Legion invasion, Sylvanas would take a part in the first big battle, and unexpectedly, as Vol'jin fell, Sylvanas would become the war chief, now ruling over the entirety of the Horde. The Dark Lady attempted many plots during the invasion, such as making deals with Helya and enslavement of allies, in particular the Valkyr Aegir. However, her true plans would show after the defeat of the Burning Legion. With the discovery of Azerite, Sylvanas saw the World Tree Teldrassil as a safe harbor to transfer the crystallized blood, which could potentially be used as a weapon by the Alliance. Deciding to strike first, she began a massive war campaign. Taking over Darkshore, Windrunner ordered the burning of Teldrassil through catapults. Darnassus burned down, but the Dark Lady cared little for the death of civilians. As a retaliation, the Alliance would lay siege to Undercity, the capital of the Forsaken, making this one of the biggest battles on the Eastern Kingdoms. With many shifts during the siege, ultimately Anduin would take over the ruins of Lordaeron, only for Sylvanas to contaminate the entire city with plague and to depart. Currently, she is the war chief and is one of the most important figures of the new faction war. So, with this story, how powerful is Sylvanas Windrunner exactly? Well, first of all, it is worth mentioning her experience as a High Elf. Windrunner was royalty, a veteran of wars against the trolls, and the leader of the Far Striders. Being a Ranger General, she was one of the most prominent figures within Silvermoon, leading the elite Rangers. Subsequently, she took part in the invasion of Quotalas and participated in many battles prior to her death. Now, as she was raised as a Banshee and later rejoined her body, Sylvanas gained quite a lot of new abilities. First was the mind control, being able to dominate various creatures and turn them into her servants. Secondly, her enhanced ranger abilities and extremely deadly arrows. She used poison as well as dark magic to make the projectiles far more deadly. One of her earliest feats as an undead was the destruction of the local bandits, takeover of Lordaeron, as well as the defeat of the Dreadlords. From that point forward, she didn't really play much of a role herself, aside from being a commander and a very important political figure, not just within the Horde, but the entirety of Azeroth. However, recently, we have seen what she is really capable of just by herself. Sylvanas faced off Arthas and even stood her ground for quite some time against the Lich King at the top of his power. She also participated in the destruction of Gilneas and the fight against the Vorken. During the Legion invasion, Windrunner attempted to enslave Aegir and fought off Gent Greymane quite successfully. Now, in Battle for Azeroth, we have truly witnessed her real power. Sylvanas single-handedly destroys a siege tower and then turns into a Banshee, being able to murder many foes within seconds. This form is extremely powerful, as there is very little that can be done to counter her when she is in a form of a mist. Then, after the Dark Lady utilized the plague in her machinery, we have seen her raising a massive amount of undead just with her own abilities. This means that she has much more necromantic power than we had previously anticipated. Lastly, after Sylvanas is cornered in the throne room, she is once again able to transform herself into a Banshee form and fly, teleporting herself out. So, through this, not only is she able to lay waste to her enemies, but she is also able to avoid combat or make distance to utilize her bow if her position is compromised. Mind control, Banshee form, raising undead, magical arrows, and one of the best bow skills on Azeroth. To top all of this, she has Valkyries that can revive her, so even if she falls in battle, like she did in the past, they are able to resurrect her. Not only is Sylvanas the war chief, having the army, navy, air force, and deadly weaponry like the plague at her disposal, she also put up quite a fight just by herself. With all this information, there is no longer any doubt that Sylvanas is one incredibly powerful individual. With the current characters alive, she might even be the strongest character of the current Horde. Alright, and that is all I have for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps out and keeps all the content going. Thanks a lot for taking time out of the day to watch this video, and see you next time.